Okay, this is a presentation I've just put together called Time Wave Spirals. It was actually an article that I wrote recently, and I thought I'd put it into like a video slideshow type thing because the information it contains is quite, very interesting, and it relates to something that very important that's happening right now. So, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a Cathara grid template. And it's actually a series of Cathara grid templates that spiral out from the center. If you imagine this shape, it starts off tiny in the center, and then it goes through a series of 45-degree increment shifts. And each time it does the shift, you can actually, the 12 points is at the top here. Imagine the blue line. It will connect to the 12 point as the time wave spirals outwards, here, 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 and here. So it grows in size. This is literally the template that external creation is based upon. And the geometry of this is defined by a creational code which exists at the center. Now, we've got the crystal spiral, which is based on the Christ code, first creation, eternal life program. And we've got the Fibonacci spiral, which is a fallen spiral based on the Metatronic code program. Now, on this planet, for a very long time, we've actually had both creational programs running simultaneously. Now, each of these creational programs create a completely separate reality that with its own geometry and physics and laws and stuff like that, and they're actually overlapping on top of each other. We're actually experiencing both of these creational code programs on top of each other at the same time, which has caused many problems on this planet. Now, what's interesting is this point here is where the two spirals will cross. Now, if you actually Google like the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence and follow the number, this spiral would be a representation of the numbers of the Fibonacci spiral. On the Fibonacci spiral, you actually get the number 144, which would be at this point here. Now, the crystal spiral also has a number progression sequence, and it also has 144 on it as well. You'd have to see how it was actually calculated. I've done another separate post on that, but the number 144 is basically on the crystal spiral as well. And interestingly, 144 is the point where they both cross. Now, and basically this time where they're going to cross is actually in November 2023. So we're here somewhere in terms of time, because this is like a time spiral. So we're somewhere in this period here, just before that they cross. We've got about 2 years before they cross. Now, what happens is when they cross, the Fibonacci spiral, which is based on the fallen Metatronic code, it's designed to grab on this red line, this Fibonacci spiral. It's designed to grab on to the crystal spiral and prevent the crystal spiral from connecting to these points. And it tries to pull the crystal spiral down and to adopt the Fibonacci spiral, which basically pulls it away from the 12 point, which is actually it's actually the center point of the next level up. But basically it tries to pull it down into fall alignment, right? Which is not going to happen, but that's what it intends to do. Okay, so I'll just put this little bit of text up. So on the 8th and 9th of November 2023, the organic crystal spiral time wave separates from the inorganic fallen Metatronic spiral time wave. So you have until then to decide which time wave you are aligning with. If you align with the descending time wave, which is the Fibonacci spiral, after the snap point, of the trumpet, pulse and Jehovian seal cycle, which is a whole series of nasty sort of energetic pulses that are happening at the moment, then I'm unsure what your options would be. So it's probably best to decide now. So you can literally choose which of these reality fields that you want to align with and follow. So at this point here, you can either go with the crystal spiral and follow the natural Christic ascension path, or if you get sort of locked onto the Fibonacci spiral, you will experience a different reality. Now, the further these get away from each other, it's my belief that each reality will eventually start phasing out of each other's perceptual range. So it's important to choose which of these reality fields you align with now. So what's happening on the planet now, in terms of all the craziness that is happening, they're trying to lower the frequency of the planet to basically pull us all down into lower frequencies of consciousness, because they're trying to secure as many people of the quantum of the life field, if you like, in order to follow this Fibonacci spiral. So that's not good at all. Okay, so this is the nasty mess that causes the Fibonacci spiral. This shape here is referred to as Metatron's cube, and as you can see, it's based on hex geometry, number 6, because it's got 6 balls. And you can actually see here it forms like a hexagram. And this here is called the flower of life, which is basically all as this is. It's just a face, another face of this fallen creational code program. So imagine a circle being 360 degrees. Now, what actually happens in the Metatron's cube template, you have 6 increments of 60 degrees to make the 360 degrees. So each one of these increments is a 60 degree increment. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can tell a fallen template, by its 60 degree increment. And if you look on the flower of life, again, you can see that it works on 60 degree increments. And basically it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is just a pattern that is drawn over this. It's one and the same. So I've said Metatron's cube is a face of the Metatronic code, and to put it bluntly, is fallen black hole creational mechanics based on false finite inorganic sextant hex geometry. So if you want to be on the up train, i.e. the Christic ascension path, you would be well advised to avoid Metatron's cube, this, the flower of life, or as we call it, the daisy of death, the golden mean, and the Fibonacci spiral. These are all fallen mechanics and part of the descending inorganic time wave. So if you don't believe any of this is real, I'm going to show you something now which I've seen recently, which was it's quite amazing actually. Well, not this, it's the next slide, but this is just to show you the geometry of Metatron's cube, the fallen Metatron's cube, Metatronic code, and that you can use it to create shapes, geometric shapes. I believe that these are called the Platonic solids, and these are just geometric shapes that are able to be created on top of the fallen Metatron's cube. So I watched a film at the weekend with my children called Soul, and I don't know if you've seen it. It's a good film to watch with the kids, but when I was watching it, I noticed some very interesting things that were in the film, which I'll show you next. But without spoiling the story, basically it's about this fella here, and he's a jazz musician, and he gets this gig to play in a band. It's his lifelong dream, but unfortunately, before he gets to play in the band, he dies, and his soul goes to a place called the Great Before. So as soon as he gets there, he meets this woman in the Great Before, and she says that the Great Before is the holding pattern before life. Now this woman is holding a clipboard with the fallen flower of life, Daisy of Death template, which was quite interesting. That immediately got me to start snapping pictures off the film as I was watching it. So this woman in The Great Before, she says that she's the divine template holding things together. And in the movie, she morphs into her true form, which, as you can see with these angles here, in the way that the circles overlap, these are all 60-degree angles. So basically what they're implying in the movie is that the divine template holding things together is the fallen Metatronic code. Right, now you've got to remember, Hollywood is just... they put these things in these movies because they know what they mean and they know the significance of them, because they're all fallen angelics. So that's what they do. Okay, so in The Great Before, basically what they do is they give out templates and personalities to souls before they incarnate into a body on planet Earth. This is like the story of the movie. And as you can see, they're all like attending this seminar to decide which soul template they're going to get. And lo and behold, yep, they're giving them all Daisy of Death templates. Now, just to show you, that's what this is. This is Metatron's cube, the Metatronic code, fallen creational, artificial life, finite program. That's what they're suggesting everybody gets, which is not true at all. So in the film, they have these little cute characters, all innocent, and basically before they incarnate down on the planet, they all get stamped with the Metatronic code. Marvelous. Oh my God, I can't believe some of these things. Okay, so I just found this image online. I thought it was quite funny. I wasn't even looking for it, to be honest. It just popped up, so I thought I'd put it in the slide. Yeah, disobey. Not disobey in any negative way, just don't follow what they're saying. Learn that there's a different way of doing it. There's a different template. And pay no attention to all the rubbish that they put out. Well, it's actually not rubbish. It's actually a real thing, but if you knew what it was, you wouldn't consciously choose it. Okay, so we've seen the negative. Now, this is what I consider to be the positive. This is eternal life creation. This is the Ruche Godseed, also known as the Christ code, Kryst, the Christ code. And this is based on octant geometry. So instead of having the 6 balls round the centre, you actually have 8. So if you start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 8 balls around the centre, and you actually have like 4 in the centre. So it creates 12 spheres and the centre point as well. So if you just remember this shape, what it actually is these cells here, these 3 cells together, they form something called a trivector. And what they are, they're phase cells. So one of these cells will be a male positive, and the other one will be a female negative, speaking in terms of polarity. And what happens is these 2 cells will phase together. They pull together to become one, and then they pull into this cell here, and then they pull into the center. And the same thing happens with here. You've got a positive and a negative. They phase together to become one, pull into this cell, and then pull into the center. Now, the whole thing breathes like a living, eternal life circulatory system, where when all the cells pull together and pull into the center, it creates a process called backflow return, which will open up a conduit, if you like, to God source consciousness field itself. And when all the cells come back out again, they replenish themselves with a brand new set of quantum, like frequency, from God source consciousness field. So in order to have a living eternal life system, you've got to have this arrangement of cells where they can phase together. and create the backflow return. If you mess around with the number of spheres, then it stops the cells being able to phase and create backflow return with God source consciousness field. Okay, this is the same thing, just shown in a little bit more detail. This is actually what's referred to as a Cosmea cluster, which is quite a high level of creation. So where are we? Yeah, now if you remember the positions of those points, just let me tell you what, just let me go back. Just imagine, remember the locations of these points here, and then look at these yellow circles. These are actually, they're called Rouchet scepters, and this whole structure is something called the Unici, which is the highest level in external creation. And basically, it's the Rouchet pattern, what we've just been looking at. And inside this Rouchet pattern, it's like a template that defines how external creation outpictures. So you can see once this template is in place, you can see it down steps into like sort of micro versions. This is like the macrocosm, the big thing, and it will create microcosms in each quadrant. So if we look at, if we like zoom into this quadrant here and then go to the next slide, that would be the next level down. This level is called the Akasha Christos. Okay, and again it's the same thing, and then you can zoom in again. It's like a fractal. You can keep zooming into each quadrant, and then you'll get pretty much the same looking template, and it keeps going. All start off at God source consciousness field, and it'll step down to like a universe, then it'll step down to a galaxy, then it'll step down to a solar system, then step down to a planet, then step down to a person, and all the little templates that exist on a planet, and then it even steps down further into like atoms and things like that. So these are literally this Rouchet Christ code. It actually creates the structure of the reality that we walk around in. Okay, so this planet has long had two competing creation templates: the original Eternal Life Christ code template and the fallen finite Metatronic code template. This has been a big problem here and in the entire Procyon Milky Way galaxy for billions of years. A lot of nature here has actually been following the dominant Metatronic code template geometry for a very long time, which is why you can see it in nature in things like seashells and snowflakes and things like that. If you just Google like images of snowflakes, you can see that it's following the Metatronic code template, i.e. Increments of 60 degrees. So one of the biggest lessons is that just because something is seen in nature does not mean it's natural. It only seems that way if you're unaware of both creational templates and how they both outpicture into nature's geometry. So a template has male positive and female negative spheres that are designed to phase and create open backflow return with God source consciousness field, as I've explained just a little moment ago. In fallen hex geometry, it's impossible to create the required Triveca phase cell, which is the three cells together that phase, breathing process in each quadrant of the template. Thus, the spheres can't phase together and create open backflow return. The Eternal Life Christ code template is based on octant geometry and allows for 12 spheres, a Triveca in each quadrant, to phase correctly to replenish its quantum through backflow return eternal life phasing, which again would be, this is a Triveca here, and these two cells would phase together, spark, pull into the center, and create backflow return in an eternal life breathing process. Okay, the Metatronic code is designed to break the Christ code eternal life template status and prevent it from phasing. It will eventually cause your natural Christ code template to enter something called molecular compaction and become disconnected from the natural structures of God source consciousness field around it. Thus, you are in Metatronic fall alignment status. There are ways to pull back from this due to certain events that are occurring now, but shortly these two opposing time wave templates will separate, and whatever train ascension path you are on will be an important and pivotal decision that will affect your entire existence going forward. Okay, so here we can see both of the opposing templates side by side. You've got the Ruche Godseed Chris code based on octant geometry, and you've got the Metatronic code based on fallen sextant hex geometry. Basically what happens is, because this has now been changed into a hex geometry, the cells can no longer phase together because the Tribeca phase cells are no longer there. So the phasing that normally takes place to create the backflow return with God source consciousness field can now no longer take place in this template. So therefore this becomes a fallen finite template, and it only has the quantum of energy in it at the point when it became fallen in this structure. So it will eventually burn out its own quantum, and the only way to keep this structure going is for it to feed vampirically off living Christ code templates, which is what's been happening on this planet for a very long time. You've got like whole soul groups of people, fallen angelic beings, who are running this program, and they use this planet as a giant energetic feeding system. So they're actually using this code to feed on this planet, like suck all the energy out of the planet and out of the life field, and it's been going on for way too long. Okay, so again, by changing the number of phase cells prevents the cells from phasing together to create backflow return with God source consciousness field, thus it's unable to replenish its quantum.